My opponent provides a counter definition for the word testing, upon which he subsequently bases his entire speech, that completely changes the grounds upon which this debate was intended to be argued. He claims his definition to be more accurate, yet when thought of logically, actually ruins the debate as a whole. We are not here to debate the semantics of the word testing, but to contest the moral implications and scientific necessity of animal testing. If my opponent or myself were to provide counter definitions for all terms in the resolution, debate would become about words and not the meaning behind them. What if I propose a counter definition for the word federal, which, when capitalized, as it is in the resolution, can be defined by Merriam-Webster Dictionary as, quote, of relating to or loyal to the federal government or the United Armies of the United States in the American Civil War, close quotes. Clearly, we are not here to debate the loyalty to the government of the Union during the American Civil War, yet I easily could have introduced this definition to our debate as it applied to our resolution. The problem with the proposal of a counter definition is when impacted to its logical extreme, ruins debate as a whole. I divulge. Merriam-Webster defines the word animal as, quote, any of a kingdom Animalia of living things, including many-celled organisms and often many of the single-celled ones as protozoans, close quotes. Clearly, human beings fit into this definition, as Homo sapiens are under the kingdom Animalia. To blindly take a definition out of a book infringes upon the educational value and integrity of debate. If we use the Merriam-Webster definition of animal and the definition my opponent has provided for testing as our standards for debate, then every proposition stance would be advocating to end critical evaluation of humans. Judge, your job is to evaluate this debate, essentially a test, and vote on a winner. If we were to use the dictionary definitions indiscriminately, I would have to debate that this debate, should not exist. If I am forced to argue that debate should be banned, it is impossible for debate to continue. Essentially, using a straight dictionary definition to proceed in a debate ruins the nature and ability of the debate to continue. My opponent fails to contend my citation of Peter Singer's analogy that speciesism is an identical pattern to racism and sexism, and thus is morally not defendable. Any dropped argument is considered to be conceded as true in a debate. Thus, my opponent must agree that to continue to subject animals to testing that considers the interests of humans as greater than the interests of other animals is immoral. Based on this sentiment, my opponent has explicitly pronounced, how can any part of his counterplan be seen as logical? His contradictions between morality and intended actions take away from our debate. Another example of this is at approximately 2 minutes into his speech when he says, quote, if you care about ending animal testing, keep animal testing, close quotes. This again is contradictory and representative of my opponent's stance as a whole. The bottom line is this: no amount of reform, replacement, reduction, or refinement, as vaguely mentioned by my opponent, will completely end the cruelty and moral wrongs committed to countless animals in the United States on a daily basis. My opponent states, quote, I agree with my opponent in that we should not cause animals to suffer for unnecessary causes, close quote. His quotation is a beautiful summary of my stance. Animal testing is cruel and not necessary. The only way to possibly eliminate this suffering is by the United States federal government banning all testing that requires the use of animals.